While everyone's concerned with what's going on in Israel and Palestine right now, I wanted to ask you this question.
We are not afraid of death. Now, again with The Voice, they are setting us up.
No matter what side you stand on, Palestinian or Israel, you know, Australia doesn't actually have the power.
We've got to move forward. 100% of Australians have nothing to do with this. Majority of our leaders serve interests for big business, for example.
The establishment, all the corporations, the banks, $7 million, Rio Tinto, $2 million, BP, $2 million, Coles, Woolies, Qantas,
big tech.
Big business, all the media backed this thing. Albo, it was his big pitch once he won the election.
To do this, you know, it takes a lot. I've been to these fundraisers. Muslims are big givers, right? They struggle to hit $1 million.
It's one of the 5 pillars, right?
I know that's Australia 2.0, I always say.
But I want to thank you for your time coming here and taking the time to have this discussion with me. So
thank you.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you too.
While everyone's concerned with what's going on in Israel and Palestine right now, the Voice to the Parliament is still on this Saturday, on the 14th of October. I'm here with my friend today to talk about this particular topic because the National Imams Council of Australia have endorsed The Voice. In fact, in Lakmeba Mosque, Anthony Albanese was actually there with Andrew Charlton endorsing it. On top of that, all the Christian churches in New South Wales have essentially endorsed it as well, among other religious leaders. I'm sitting here with Mohy. We're going to be discussing this particular topic because the grassroots in the Christian community, especially the Middle Eastern one, are against this voice. And from what Mohy has told me in brief, spoiler alert, many of the Muslims on the ground are against the voice. Yet the political leaders, just like in COVID, have come out to endorse the voice. So Mohy, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Joel.
And I wanted to ask you this question. Do you have no sense of self-preservation? I mean, why are you here talking with me? Why are you talking against your own religious leaders like I am with my leaders?
Okay, it started back in COVID. So when, you know, COVID was a big thing, and when they came out endorsing government narrative, I sort of lost respect for them, because especially pushing the vaccine mandate and to comply, I felt like we were being backstabbed because we were the business owners, we suffered, we were in the lockdowns, and then I stayed quiet, I didn't want any heat, and it really burnt me because I know as a Muslim, for example, we are not afraid of death. We don't need a pharmaceutical product to save us. Yet these imams came out, turned mosques into vaccination clinics, which is a desecration to our mosques. So now, again with The Voice, they are setting us up. So, and it's really gotten me into doing this interview because it's really hurting me. A lot of Muslims feel this way, and there's a lot of Muslims that don't want to get involved in politics. And also the way how the Muslim, especially the Imams Council, are siding with the left side of politics and left politicians like the Labor Party. To me, it makes no sense.
Yeah. Can I just ask this very quick question? I was a little bit confused because they were sort of standing there with Anthony Albanese in the mosque one day, in the Lakmeba Mosque, and then obviously the events over the weekend in Israel and Palestine with thousands of people dead. Anthony Albanese comes out the next day and is basically like, we stand with Israel. I mean, a lot of these Muslim leaders, now they're being lambasted by the Muslim community and saying, hey, you were just sharing a platform with this guy. Now, spoiler alert, for those of you guys that are thinking we're going to talk about this Israel-Palestinian conflict, a conflict that's happening 14,000 kilometers away, you're going to be sorely disappointed. We're not talking about that. I'm personally of the opinion, Mohy, that you know, like when you're on the plane, you've got to secure your own mask before you help the guy next to you.
Of course.
Israel and Palestine, they're not even next to us. They're like on the other side of the world.
Of course.
And you know, especially in Victoria, big Muslim community, Sydney, big Muslim community, you know, they were shooting at protesters in Victoria. They were mandating vaccines. In New South Wales, southwestern Sydney was targeted, and with these lockdowns, the 12 LGAs of concern in southwestern Sydney. It frustrates me because I see so many people out on the street now, and I'm like, where the hell were you guys when the lockdowns were on? Speaking up for your community. I mean, do you share the sentiments, and does your community share those sentiments as well?
I mean, they do feel like they're being backstabbed. I think now they're coming out and waking up to it. But like with the Israeli and Palestinian conflict, I want to think about worry about my own backyard first, right? The reason why the imams are siding with the left politics, because the left have sort of sympathized with the Muslims,
Right.
but it's only skin deep.
Yeah.
I've always said to everyone, if you're on the left or the right, they're going to support Israel by default. I mean, it's pretty flawed to think that Albanese is going to give you that two-state solution. It's never going to happen, right? So let's worry about our own backyard and keeping our traditional conservative values.
Yeah, look,
That's what it's about maintaining.
You're so right, man. You know when the Ukraine war started and then it killed COVID, and everyone was making the joke about how Putin killed COVID?
Yeah.
And it just blew my mind, because everyone in the COVID movement with the following over the last few years, they automatically transitioned to, we're experts on the Ukraine-Russian war.
Yeah.
I've never done a segment on it except to say one thing. I did one segment, and I said Australia is a global irrelevance militarily.
Of course,
we're fundamentally a one-shot military, which is what Senator Jammal said.
People don't even know us.
Yeah, we don't even know us. Like our economy is the same size as Russia's.
Yeah,
but we don't spend our money on the military. We spend it on social welfare.
We've got no influence.
Yeah, and so look, you're so right, because this is the thing, guys. You know, my uncle is Palestinian. He was actually kicked out of his settlement. And I'm also, I run an organisation, Turning Point Australia, where Turning Point USA they support Israel. So I'm like, people don't know where I stand on this topic. And when I look at this, I'm just like, can you guys just leave me alone? Like everyone? Like, can we get the unvaccinated, like the firefighters today, the good news that the unvaccinated allowed to work. Can we get that sorted? Can we get our economy sorted? Our military sorted? It just annoys me how much these topics animate people, but we can't get people to stand up against the LGBTQ plus stuff. Which we all agree on.
Protect your kids. We want to protect our kids. I'm all for prosperity. I want people to have jobs, freedom. I mean, this is going to empower people. Right? And what you'll find is, if you're looking for these values, they're going to predominantly be on the right side of the politics. That's just the way it works out. A lot of the left are essentially godless by nature. They don't want to associate religion in how they legislate and make laws. Where the right still have a tether to religion. That's what I believe. That's why you find a lot of Christians, Catholics, Orthodox Jews and Zionist Jews, whatever, right? They're still tethered to a form of religion. The values comes from that. And as a Muslim, I can stand behind that. I want to protect the kids, protect our freedoms, worry about our own backyard, our economy, and, minimize government intervention in our lives. That's going to empower people.
Literally, because no matter what side you stand on, Palestinian or Israel, Australia doesn't actually have the power to give either side what they want. Like, we're an irrelevance. Can I ask you this though, on a individual level? You're on this podcast, you're criticising your own leadership. There have been many people, like Freddie, who were talking about a second ago, off camera, who have said, Sheikh Shadi and some of the Muslim leadership should go. As a Middle Easterner, we don't usually criticise our elders. We have a culture of respect.
Of course.
How does that rationalisation go through your mind? How do you sort of rationalise that?
It comes to a point, there's a certain level of maturity and observation. See, at my core, I believe if someone goes out there, builds a business, experiences life, gets kicked around, gets a living daylights kicked out of him, right? Builds something great. And then he understands politics, understands international policy, and can sort of see where mankind is going. And then this comes with maturity, just naturally going through this process. When you see Sheikh Shadi come out and support the Labor Party, to me, a kindergarten should know you do not side on the left side of politics. And I'm going to speak out because you are misleading my people. And unfortunately, a lot of my people are not interested in the politics, and they're going to give them boxes of ballots with the votes to them. And it's going to go against them. That means your kids are going to be indoctrinated with gender ideology and the rest of it. So It's a form of maturity. We have to come out and speak and just say the truth. Enough's enough.
Look, I've been shocked, Mohy, because a lot of influencers, you're one of the exceptions. There's a lot of influencers I respect. And the moment this sort of conflict kicked off over the weekend, I was shocked how quickly they dropped The Voice. They dropped the New Zealand election because they've got an election on. And it's like, guys, you know what it's like, figuratively speaking. It's like you're about to do all these moves on the chessboard, and then all of a sudden half your board just goes off and starts fighting elsewhere. It's like, I can't execute my 10-move plan. I was going to use that horse or that castle or whatever. And they've gone and, and it's like, how are you meant to launch a attack on The Voice, on the New Zealand election, all this stuff? And it's, we are short on volunteers. By the way, if you guys want to volunteer for The Voice stuff and secure the vote with scrutineers, head to fairaustralia.com.au. They've got a form there, and they really need volunteers, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, everyone's like, oh, quick to, I want to type about this, I want to go on Twitter and, Israel this, Palestine that. And it's like, guys, can we, The Voice?
Virtue signaling does nothing.
Actually, The Voice is going to impact them more than this crisis ever will.
Of course. It's going to affect every Australian. I mean, you look at the ramifications that can come from this, and, open up the Constitution, adding a chapter in there. Albanese's been very inconsistent, and he's been hiding a lot of factors to do with it. And so this is just an advisory board. Bullshit. I'm just being straight out, bullshit. Because you have people like the Liberal, ex-Prime Minister, what's his name again?
Is it Malcolm Turnbull?
Not Malcolm Turnbull.
Scott Morrison?
No, the one that only had 6 months.
6 months? It wasn't Tony Abbott.
Tony Abbott.
He was there for a lot longer than 6 months.
Sorry.
2 years, I think. And then they kicked him,
Oh, 2 years, okay. So Tony Abbott, he raised a lot of good points, saying how adding this in the Constitution, how now the government, it's a fourth arm of government, effectively, having this advisory. And this advisory committee, you can bet it's going to be a lot of radical leftists that, have no experience in life, desperate people, the very bad personality are going to have a voice in Parliament. And now the Labor Party or the left can use this to now just legislate a law based on what they want, and it's very dangerous. I mean, I've seen in Western Australia the Scarborough gas field, $16 billion project. It had all the approvals for it. This is jobs, this is wealth, this is national security. I love seeing Australia prosper and all these good things. We have a lot of resources, right? And literally this one complaint, because of something had to do with whale singing and whatnot, compromised the whole $16 billion project. Now that happened on the state level. Now I can imagine if the Voice of Parliament happened on a federal level, it's going to be that on steroids. All the blue collar workers, there's going to be permits and a lot of ramifications. And people need to focus on the Voice. Let's worry about own backyards. Let's vote no, get this out, right? Because it's going to cost a lot of people if it goes wrong. And
it's not even like a matter of let's get the Voice thing done and then we can talk about it next week. To me, it's like, hang on, next week we've got the misinformation bill, we've got to start fighting on. That's the next fight. There's always something else.
It's an ongoing fight, correct.
Yeah, it's like, with the misinformation bill, guys, Israel and Palestine, both sides think that big tech's on their side or against them. You know what I mean?
There's both arguments.
Exactly, and this is the thing. Misinformation bill. If I was, on the Israeli side, I'd be like, oh, they're going to ban the truth about what's going on. If I was on the Palestinian side, it's like, oh, they're going to ban the truth about what's going on. This is what I'm talking about. If we don't focus on the fights here, we can't talk about it. We're going to be gagged, and the government's just going to keep hitting your purse, your kids, stealing your kids because they have your kids for education, and I'm pulling my hair out, and I'm just like, yes, war is bad. Like, no shit, shit. But we can't help it. Sure, it's a free country, call it out, either side. But can we just, Australia is on the brink of a Brexit moment, a Trump 2016 moment, the moment where, and this is a fact, the establishment, all the corporations, the banks, $7 million, Rio Tinto, $2 million, BP, $2 million, Coles, Woolies, Qantas, big business, all the media backed this thing. Albo, it was his big pitch once he won the election. And the people are about to say no.
And they just flipped their whole plan upside down. And that's like the greatest feeling. And especially like coming towards this Agenda 2030, and I'm sure a lot of people, WF, UN, this is a big slap in the face because they're all behind this. I mean, Pfizer coming out, supporting the voice. What does Pfizer have to do with Australian politics? Like, for God's sake,
I have
people
no
think...
idea, man. Have you ever seen that Valentine's card where it's just like Pfizer? It was like sponsored by Pfizer. It's like, you stop my heart.
Exactly.
You make my heart stop.
You make my heart stop.
Oh boy.
That's exactly.
Look, companies like Pfizer and these BlackRock funded companies, this is our moment, and we don't have the win yet. Like, there's only like a couple million people that have voted, maybe 3 million people, 4 million people that have voted at this point in time. And it's like, can we get the win first and then go from there? But I don't know, man. Look,
everyone complains about crappy politicians. They don't represent us. They don't. Okay, this is where it starts. So, like you said, let's get over this voice, but the fight stays on. The more people engage and takes action, join your political parties and force that change, and then we can force, the narrative that we really want as Australians. Because at the moment, unfortunately, a majority of our leaders serve interests for big business, for example. So the more people take action. I'm a very busy person. I run a business, right? And to do this, it takes a lot to free up the time, make people aware. But we all have to do it. If you love this country, if you love what it's given you, we have to do it.
My understanding, coming to this country, which my uncles taught me, which my dad taught me, God rest his soul, is we've come here for a better life. We've come here to raise our kids.
No doubt.
We've come here for the enormous opportunities, which is why I think a lot of immigrants flourish. But the politics of the Middle East, it's got to stay in the Middle East, guys. Like, you got to let it go. Because if we're going to move forward as a country, we can't be in the street calling for violence in our own country against another group of people, especially not an ethnic group of people. Because I do remember when the what's it called, riots happened in Maroubra. Was it Maroubra? Lakmeba? Or no?
The Cannella Riots?
The Cannella Riots. And it doesn't matter if you're Muslim, Christian or Jew. If you look like a Middle Easterner, you were targeted. If you look like an Asian, you were targeted. It's like, if we want to do this race thing, guys, like, everyone will lose.
It's silly because Australia is a multicultural country. We're very diverse. It makes no sense for us to attack each other based on race.
Exactly.
And going back to that, putting race into our constitution is racist.
Literally.
It's
100%
of Australians have nothing to do with the crimes of yesterday, right? And to always look back in history, why doesn't every other country do it? Go back in history and look at the atrocities, and then it makes no sense. We got to move forward. 100% of Australians have nothing to do with this. They shouldn't pay the rent. Right?
Let's go back a step. So I started this conversation by saying, Lakmeba Mosque filled with Labor politicians pushing the LGBT stuff, also backing Israel, but they were in the mosque speaking up. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that specifically? Because I'm about to bash the Christian churches after you had your 5 cents.
On that, it's expected. I knew that's going to happen. On both sides, they're going to support Israel regardless, right? But I want them to be genuine, right? But I think they're being compromised by money and grants and they're being bought out. That's what I believe in. Right? I want them to be genuine. They know their religion, what we stand for. Why are you siding with the left side of politics? That is my genuine question. They only like us skin deep. Do you think the left actually value, like Sharia law or any Islamic teaching? They don't. They hate it. But they only like us because, we were targeted for the last 20 years and, the war on terrorism and whatnot. So they sympathize a little bit, but skin deep. So what I'm telling them, let's be honest, right? Let's go back to traditional conservative values. Let's make sure, you know, our kids are not taught things that we don't want them to be taught. These extremist, you know, gender ideologies, and the list goes on, right?
Yeah.
CBDCs, all that, the left is behind.
Yeah.
So let's put traditional Christian values, right? And Islamic values, because we're very, how can I say, we come on common grounds on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And that should be on the forefront.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know, some people might be in the comments right now being like, you know, Muslim values, we're seeing them play out right now in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys,
love thy neighbor, we believe in the same thing.
the Abrahamic religions, yeah, they've got the same core
Yeah.
beliefs, but on top of that, the Muslim world, it's got a plethora of people, different types of people.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked with so many Muslims on the construction sites
Yeah.
that are just hardworking,
Yep.
just want to provide for their kids.
That's
They're
right.
not into drugs, they don't drink.
That's right.
And I just, there's no reason why we can't have, you know, a nirvana
Yeah.
in Australia. We can make it work. If you believe in the equality between men and women, if you believe in the equality before the law, if you
Yeah.
believe in you know, paying your taxes and, you know, your civic duty and free speech and freedom of movement,
Yeah.
there's no reason you shouldn't be coming to this country if you're going to work hard.
Of course.
You know. But I want to bash now the Christian churches because
Yeah.
it's not just about the Muslim leaders here.
Yeah.
Christian churches, they did nothing in COVID.
Yeah.
Especially the Maronite church, which my mum is from.
Yeah.
My dad was from the Orthodox side, and they were silent as well.
Yeah.
When we did his funeral, we were limited to 70 people when we would have probably had 3,000. He was a
Yeah.
very well-known. The name Jammal, a lot of people in construction do know it because
Yeah.
a lot of them
Yeah.
are in it,
Yeah.
his brothers. But they were silent, whereas Bishop Marmari,
Yeah. Yeah.
Christian priest,
Yeah.
he's an internet sensation, and
I love him.
I might be doing an interview with him
Yeah.
soon. Actually, fingers crossed. Pray for that, guys.
Yeah.
But Marmari, during COVID, yeah, we touched base, and he called it as it is.
Yeah,
He didn't take the money, he didn't take the grants, whereas we know that you know,
Big
the
respect.
Maronites and the others did. And it's like, well, this is the long march through the institutions. They captured our churches.
Yeah. Big respect to Marmari, is it?
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
his videos. Big respect.
He's a
and
good man.
Fundamentally,
Yeah.
we shouldn't be corrupted by money. We should stick to our values, even if it kills us. That's how we should be.
Yeah.
And what I see is from our imams who are unelected, they just decided to be our imams council and be a voice for us, which they're not.
Yeah.
It's like, who can build the next $15 million mosque and have the most opulence and have the most influence and the biggest group? We're not about that. I'm happy to pray in a mud brick mosque. Let's go back to our
Roots.
roots.
Is that how it was in the early...
That's how the Prophet prayed in a mud brick mosque. What
you
makes
go.
us better than him?
Yeah.
We don't care about the money and the influence and that power. If it's on the wrong side of the politics and the wrong side of the fence, it makes no sense.
I totally agree. And I mean, the Christian church started in the houses, being hunted down, being kicked out of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
You know, the whole Roman Empire after them. And then eventually they triumphed. But you're not wrong. I mean, the St. Mary's Cathedral, which is
Yeah.
where Albo met with, you know,
Yeah.
the Hindus and the Christians and all these other, you know, religious leaders. It was like, you have betrayed us. The Jews as well, for the people that want me to throw that in. They were there as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have lost your mandate. You didn't stand up in COVID. You
Yeah.
didn't stand up, you know,
Exactly.
to the voice. You
When
just
push
took the
comes to
money.
shove.
But how much did they promise you? That's my only question.
Yeah.
If you guys have any information on this, send it to contact@tpaust.com.au.
Yeah.
I want to break this because this is BS.
We
This
need
is
it.
BS.
We need to chase the money, and I don't want to mention names, but one owns almost a whole industrial complex, $40-50 million worth, and this is serious money. And I've been to these fundraisers.
Yeah.
Muslims are big givers, right? They struggle to hit $1 million.
It's one of the 5 pillars, right?
Yeah, zakat, yeah, to
Zakat,
give.
yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
that's right.
It's
Yeah.
obligatory, 2.5% of
2.5%.
our wealth every year. But Muslims are big givers, especially in Ramadan. We give even more than that, much more. But to get $40-50 million worth of property, now I don't want to mention names, but this money's come from somewhere. So if they've been bought out, grants and whatnot, we want to know about that.
Plot twist, it's from the Jew. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. You can tell, guys, we have no sense of self-preservation.
No.
We get nothing from this. We're just calling it out as it is. And you know what? you know, I refuse to continue to watch Orthodox Christians, Maronite Christians, Catholics and Anglicans just blindly follow their leaders that did them no favors. You know, I personally am struggling to find a church I really want to commit to because I can read the Bible on my own in my house just like the first church. But these, I have to respect my elder if they're going to then counsel me.
Of course,
You know? But if they don't stand up at the only time the churches were ever shut in Australia's history, they weren't even shut in the wars. You know? They didn't stand up for us. Marmari was standing up for us. He kept his church open. He broadcast.
Big respect.
Called it out.
I don't know any Muslim person that did what Marmari did, and I wish they did because we're more like that.
Right.
We're more like that, right?
Yeah.
He came out. He was calling it. He wasn't scared.
Oh. And well, I'm thinking about, you know, we've seen a lot of scenes broadcast around the world of the Sydney protests when the Israel-Palestine conflict happened, and I'm seeing these guys in the streets going, yeah, I'm elated, I'm this and that, I'm so happy. And I'm like, bro, I've never seen your face in the COVID years. Where the F were you? And where are all you guys? All these young men, all like, you know, and they're doing the chants they're doing. And I'm like, you know, you guys, you think you're lions now, but you're little puppies when the lockdowns happened.
Exactly.
And when they did the targeted lockdowns on Liverpool and the 12 LGAs are concerned.
At home with the towel between their legs. And this is another disease in the community for us, and I'm going to expose it. No limits, I'm just going to say it. See, a lot of Muslims, they say, we don't want to get involved in the politics of the West. Voting takes you out of the religion, etc., all this stuff. If that were true, why our imams telling us to vote for Labour?
That's a great
Our imams so-called know more than us, right? But they're telling us to vote for Labour. Well, what I'm telling you is that's a load of bullcrap, because if you're not going to preserve your traditional values in this country, right, be consistent. If you think voting takes you out of the religion, why are you still in this country? Why are you benefiting from this country? Why are you earning money and benefiting from this economy? Go back to the Middle East. Be consistent. It's either you participate in this economy, make this a better country, and maintain our traditional conservative values, like same-sex marriage, all that stuff, you know, vote against that. Did you sit at home and not vote?
Yeah, and they do. Like, I mean, like Southwest Sydney, Bankstown, 20% invalid vote rate. People not.
That's crazy.
Like, either they don't understand the language and they need to learn how to vote on this stuff. You know, we do how to vote cards. Very simple. You just number. Like it's Christian values, which ends up being basically Muslim values.
Exactly right.
But like the idea that you're not going to vote when you get there, or you just throw it out and just tick your name off so you don't pay the $100-200 fine.
It's ridiculous.
And it's like, and this is the thing, guys. Not voting is consent. You know. Do you know Riccardo Bosi?
Yes, I do.
So Riccardo is someone who's gone off the rails. He's someone that I used to respect. He was quite a knowledgeable guy, and he is a knowledgeable guy. But recently, he's just gone off the rails. So he's been telling people not to vote. At a time when that is probably the biggest threat to the No campaign than the Yes campaign. Because every time the Yes campaign advertises with their $100 million, it helps No.
Exactly.
But to not vote is consent.
Yeah.
And it really annoys me because this is someone who's run 5 times.
Yeah.
He's been taking, I don't even know how much money from people for a party.
Yeah.
He's never registered.
Yeah.
He's been taking all these donations.
Yeah.
And he keeps telling people he's going to do a plan that he never delivers on.
Mm.
And he's now telling people that, you know, don't vote.
Yeah.
Is it because he's not on the ballot this time?
Yeah.
And so it's just like, you know, get on board with Australia's Brexit moment,
Yep.
or just shut up.
Exactly.
Like, it's a free country. You can say what you want. You cannot participate if you want, but do not come to complain to me if we lose. Do not come to complain to me when they come after your house. You'll have to pay the rent, and it's game over. You know, like, this is our moment.
Of course.
It's ours to lose.
And if there's a little chance we can make a difference, you should take it.
100%.
You know, by you not voting, like, what are you trying to do? You know, it just sabotages the whole thing.
Absolutely.
And there's a little chance, just take it. So example like Pauline Hanson, I really like her policies.
Yeah.
It's Australia first. Everything she does, you know, not sending us out to China, and it's all the right stuff we should be doing as Australia. But when you bring that up with the Muslims, you know, they go, oh, she's racist, she hates Muslims. I'm like, okay, where is our imams to have an open dialogue with this woman, right? she's behind all the right things.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember that cash ban bill, and she fought it?
Yeah.
$10,000.
Beat it. She beat it.
She beat it.
Yeah, man.
I mean, imagine if you had $10,000, you wanted to buy a car in Western Sydney.
Exactly. Like, we all know South Western Sydney.
Yeah.
You know, with all the tradesmen, they love cash.
They love cash.
And yeah, that's all I'll say. But no, like, you know, but yeah, the construction industry, buying cars, absolutely.
That's
man.
right. And she fought that.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why you can still, you know, transact in $10,000 and less freely.
Well, look, the criticisms I've seen from Muslims on Pauline is there's a couple main things that come to mind.
Yeah.
Oh, she went into the mosque and she was wearing the is it the hijab or the burqa?
The burqa.
The burqa where you only see.
Yeah.
You can't recognize the person. She did that because she was trying to make a point. If you can't see a person when they walk into a bank, when they walk into, you know, when they're pulled over, like, how do you identify them? How do you know who you're dealing with? Like, it is genuinely a security threat if they're wearing a motorcycle helmet. That was the point she was making. It wasn't a racist thing.
Yeah.
And the other aspect was she was talking about how the halal certification, I think Corey Bernardi's also made this point. Some of the money makes its way to terrorist organisations in the Middle East. I'm not sure about that. I haven't looked into it. But
I don't think so. But
I think those are one of the two main criticisms of her.
Yeah, fair enough. Like, you're free to have your point of view, right? But what I say is, like, when it comes to the burqa, you should be able to identify yourself. Like, there are options for women. So request a female police officer, etc. I mean, it could work, right? Now, I'm a forgive, forget sort of person, right? I don't think Muslims should hold her against her. I think we should have an open dialogue with her, and just, like, you know, we want the same thing. She believes in traditional Christian values. It's in harmony with Islamic values. There's nothing wrong with it. Right?
This is what I've never understood, Mohy. Is the people don't, when it comes to politics, it's about building coalitions on issues that you agree on.
100%.
You will never find, like, you listen to people defending Andrew Tate and they say, oh, look, I don't agree with everything he says. It's like, well, no shit, Sherlock.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I don't agree with everything I said a year ago.
Yeah.
Me.
That's
I don't agree with everything that my own, you know, brother
It's a form of maturity.
Yeah, well, literally, like, you're constantly evolving. Like, the idea that I don't agree with myself from what I'd said a week ago, it's like,
That's right.
So when I look at, I don't agree with what she said on this one particular topic. And it's like, okay, but you agree with her on 90% of other things.
Yeah.
Whereas with Labor, you agree with them on 5% of things.
Exactly.
Like,
you do the numbers game.
Like, what's the saying? You're cutting off your nose to spite your face. It's like...
It's like, I'm a Muslim, I go do business with a Zionist Jew. Do I cut him off completely? Or do I be professional? I'm like, I'll be professional about things. You know, we talk about commenting. I don't want to bring up, you know, the 10% or 20% we don't agree on. We just got to be mature about it. We're in Australia, we've got nothing to do with it, right?
Yeah, pretty
with
much.
what's happening overseas.
Literally.
So there's a way to go about things, right?
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when the Black Lives Matter protests and riots were raging in America. It's the most violent riots in America's ever seen. In Australia, they had some Black Lives Matter protests here, and they were pretty big and during COVID, and everyone ignored it in the police. They said, no worries, you guys can protest. And they're like, it's a health, it's a pandemic. And this one guy tries to get on the car and start jumping on it, and everyone looks to him like, you're an idiot. Like, this is the protesters. They're all like, you're an idiot. Like, this isn't America. We're not, like, the heat isn't turned up.
Not loot shops. And
it's silly, but, like, going back to the point, coalition building, LGBTQ plus stuff. I gave a speech recently. I said, the one thing Chris Minns fears, and the Labor Party fears, is Muslims and Christians working together, especially in southwest Sydney.
Of course.
Labor heartland, or even Western Victoria, Labor heartland, and them uniting against them, voting for Moy Redeeming, voting for what's her name, Tanya Davies. Two people that stood up against the vaccine stuff. Two people that are happen to be Christian but strongly conservative. And, you know, looking at what's going on there, it's like, the votes are there. You've just got to seize it. If you can build a coalition against certain topics like LGBTQ plus stuff, education of the kids in the schools, then you very quickly realise that, Dan Andrews doesn't like that. Labor doesn't like that. Chris Minns doesn't like that. And I think they're freaking out. Quickly get the Imams Council of Australia, quickly get all the Christian churches in so that we can steer it back like a good little boy, get these communities over there. this is why podcasts are so important.
Yep.
Now, you've got a channel,
Yep.
and you help present a particular
Yep.
topic and viewpoint.
Correct.
How have you gone with, there have been some nefarious comments that have left there from racists, genuine racists.
Of course, yeah.
What's the go with that?
Water off a duck's back. It doesn't affect me. I've got thick skin.
Right.
You can say what you want about me, my religion, whatever. It doesn't concern me. I know what I have to support and what I have to back, and what I do is for the betterment of this country, right? And like you just said, how important these podcasts are. Look what's happening in Canada. The misinformation bill, it's very similar. Are you up to scratch?
Yeah. So what is it? Any podcasts that have revenue, this is Canada, any podcasts that have revenue over $10 million, it has to pre-submit the podcast to the government before it can be posted. So there's only one podcast out that I know of out of Canada that has that much, and I think it's Jordan Peterson in politics. And it's like, come on, guys. How could you let this pass? I don't know, man. They're gonna have to lock him up. I think Jordan Peterson said that. He said, "You're gonna have to lock me up, and I'm gonna fast. If you lock me up, I'm just gonna fast until it's because he's gonna go all Gandhi on them."
Oh wow.
Yeah, man. Like he's ready to he's ready to go. Was it Gandhi that did that? I think he did. He did a national fast.
And Canada's Australia 2.0. I always say very similar in politics, very similar in population and policies. So I look there and I know where the future is going.
Yeah.
And Albanese is like Justin Trudeau. And the funny thing is, because I look at politics internationally, right? So when I look at Canada, the Muslims predominantly in Canada voted for Trudeau.
Right.
They all pushed for Trudeau. Right. And then now they're backflipped. Now they're siding with the Conservative. And there's big protests against Trudeau. Save our kids. Muslims protesting against Trudeau. They've completely flipped on him.
Yeah.
And now they're siding with the Conservative side, which is, it's excellent. Now we just need the same thing here.
I think traditionally the reason why a lot of immigrants they side with Labor is because Labor does
immigration,
higher immigration. It's like they let us in, we should be always thankful.
Yeah.
And I think immigrants, to an extent, they have, and I've seen this with my own parents. They have a bit of an imposter syndrome where they don't want to rock the boat. They're like, even with like a Telstra bill, they're like, pay it as soon as you can because you don't want to, maybe they'll deport us or something. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, really, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But there is a respect, and an appreciation for being here, and they always want to honour just vote Labor.
Yeah, we're very lucky. What happened? We ended up in this country. We're very lucky, but Australia's situation decades ago was populate or perish. But now we have a problem where there's too much population, not enough housing.
Yeah.
So we can't be extreme and just let millions in, and it's got to be. It needs to be regulated, right? You need to bring people that add to the economy, etc. We just can't let the floodgates open. I'm all for border control, and borders is what make a country. Open borders
doesn't make sense. Dear. Look, Mohy, this has been a pleasure. Did you have anything else you wanted to add on this particular topic?
I'm good. Until next time, Joel. It's been nice talking.
No, look, honestly, the pleasure's all mine. I respect anyone that's willing to hop on a podcast and call out their own political leaders because it tends to backfire. Yeah. But you have a TikTok account. Where can people find you?
Titan Says. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok. That handle's used even on Facebook, so you can find me there. I do get cancelled a little bit, but you'll find it somehow. Titan Realist, Titan Says, that's just my nickname. So
awesome. Well, you've always got a platform here. In the worst case scenario, you get nuked everywhere.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you for your time coming here and taking the time to have this discussion with me. So
thank you, John.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you too.